Hello and welcome to Hixxy Studio. In this video I'm going to show you how to make this lovely little card. I'm using Julie Hickey Designs the Floral Button stamp set, and I'm also using her Dinky circle die set to create part of the background and cut these out here. So we are going to start by creating the background for this, and I am using my sprays for this. I've got three colours. I'm using bundled sage, I'm using weathered wood, and I am using scattered straw, is it? Yeah, so these are the three sprays that I am using to create the background. I'm not putting ink onto it, I'm just literally spraying. So I'm going to start with the green. Now with the distress sprays, you can hear the ball bearing. If you shake them like this, that's sufficient. If you shake them up and down, then you need to take the lid off and put a little piece of towel around it, otherwise you get a little bit like you can see in mine here, where I've just shaken it and not really listened to my own advice. Okay, so let's start with the green. Now I've kind of tried to move things away, because when I did the sample, if I bring it in, can you see the speckles here? I managed to spray the bits that I'd already stamped. So I'm just sort of moving stuff out of the way. So this bundled sage, you kind of get to know your sprays, and I know that sounds weird, but with the best one in the world, the spraying mechanisms are not all the same. So my bundled sage and my scattered straw give quite a nice mist, like so you can see, give a few nice little splats, but they give quite a nice mist. Whereas I found with my weathered wood, it is a lot more splatty. Okay, now I think what I might do, no, I am actually just going to spray it on top of that. Can you see what I mean? It is a lot more, you can even hear it, a lot more splatty. Okay, and I've probably done a little bit much of the grey, but we're not going to use this one because I would prefer to let it dry naturally, and it stops too much of the buckling of the card. So we're going to leave that, put that to one side, and I have one. I've already got to that stage here. So what we need to do now is to transform that into that, basically. So what I have done is I've created myself a little stencil using the flower die from the Dinky circle set, and I just took a piece of craft card and I cut it 3 times in, and I'm going to use that as a stencil to get my little sort of bits and pieces here. Now I have got the 3 inks. I'm not going to use the weathered wood for the stenciling. I'm only going to use the scattered straw, and I don't want a huge amount. I'm just going to grab my inking mat. I don't want a huge amount of ink on it, but literally I'm going to just put a bit of ink on, just randomly lay the stencil and just go through it. Now it looks like you're not laying down very much, and maybe I'm not, but generally when you pick it up, well, I'm not. Generally when you pick it up, you go, oh yeah, I have actually laid something down, but I haven't really had. There we go. I can see a little bit more ink through there now. So you can see I'm not bothered that they're not necessarily complete. What I just want is that kind of hint of these flowers, just to add more interest to my background. I've obviously not used this brush for a while. It doesn't have much ink on. I'm not adding tons. Whoops. It's close. I'll put one more. In fact, what I'm going to do is kind of like that, I think. There. Because I'm also going to get my bundled sage and do the same. Now, it doesn't matter if they overlap. And so we are creating a background. We're not sort of making our sort of focal image. You can see the little bits in the middle of my stencil are starting to sort of move, but again, I'm not too worried about that. I'm looking for the overall effect rather than sort of detail and precision. So where should we put there? Now remember, this is just I say just. This is going to be a piece of background card. It's not going to, you know, not needed to be a huge focus. I'm going to put. Sometimes you need to know when to stop, and sometimes I don't. Right, so we're going to stop with the stencil. I don't want. Maybe I do. Now, in this stamp set, you get the 3 buttons, the big one, the medium, and the small. You also get this little one, which the sentiments will fit into. And then you get these 2 tiny little stamps for here. See these little flowers. So it's these 2 that I'm going to use to add a little bit more interest to this background. And I'm putting it on the end of this block and literally just putting it in. I am not worried if I don't get a perfect impression. I am just looking for a little bit of additional interest on my card. So you can see just using it on a stamp, it's a brighter colour than when you ink it through or when you spray it. So it does stand out. And then I'm going to use this with the green, the bundled sage, and you can see that's beautiful. That comes out really nicely. But again, you don't need it to be a perfect stamp. And then, you know, just stamp off all the ink. Don't just use the one. You get your 2nd generation and your 3rd. Probably only 2 on this, I'd say. Oh, I've gone back in the yellow, not paying attention. I was thinking, why is that not coming out green? And just a few more. And then I'm going to use the same stamp. Whoop! I have to admit, it's a tiny stamp on a tiny block, and it does, if you've got like me, kind of slightly dodgy fingers and hands with sort of grip and movement. Okay, now this is much darker, so this is one where you want to think about where you're placing them, because these are the ones that really stand out. Literally, you can see all I'm doing is I'm kind of sat at a weird angle. I do apologise if I've kind of half gone out of the oh, see, I didn't get ink on all of it there, but that again, that's equally good because it just adds a little bit more interest. And I've noticed, I'll tell you what I have noticed, which I'm not happy about, is I've kept my block at the same angle. So that I'm a bit annoyed about that because it now all looks a little bit sort of not symmetrical, but you know what I mean? It's just like, oh. So let's swap the stamps. Let's get this teeny weeny tiny one. And I'm going to turn my piece of card. and I'm just going to turn it as I'm stamping this time so that we don't get it all in the same way, because of my fingers I'm having to hold it at the same angle, but so it's a case of turning the piece of card, I think, rather than trying to re-angle my block. Okay, and then we'll do a little bit of the grey of this one too. So there we go. That will do for our background. So that's our background piece of card done. And just put that now to one side for the moment, and put that little stamp back on. And then I'm going to grab my stamping platform, and we are going to, oops, that's the little flower die that I took out from the Dinky circles. So we're going to stamp now. So if I grab the stamps, and I'll get one piece of card, and I'm going to stamp. Oh, I managed to get my magnets together. There we go. I'm going to stamp all 4 of these in one go. I can't put the sentiment in here because this is the part of the stamp, so I have to add the sentiment on afterwards, but that's okay. It's no bother. Right, so let's down there, make sure I've got my piece of paper and my embossing powder ready there. Okay, so I'm using versafine clear. Oops, okay, we've left one behind, which we don't want to do. My versafine clear, and I'm using some clear embossing powder. Sorry, brain, just a little bit of a brain fog there. So I want to get all of these stamped. I'm just being lazy, doing them all in one go. Need to make sure I put pressure on all of them, but because it's a nice platform, then if it hasn't quite done, I think we have. That's absolutely brilliant. And then I'm going to very quickly just put some of our embossing powder on, just so that I don't lose the stickiness of the ink. Oop. And then just put that to one side for now. And we're going to make sure we've covered everything. Oh, not quite. That little bit. Okay, that's looking good. Put the powder back in our pot and grab our heat gun. I'm going to put my. No, I'm going to keep that out because I'm going to do some painting in a minute. So, yeah, just put it to one side for a moment and let the heat gun heat up a little bit before we put it on the paper. And I am going to use the same inks in a moment to colour these stamps in. Yeah, so so we're keeping it all nice, all the colours sort of flow, because we've used the same sprays, the same inks to make the background, and then we're using the same ones to do our little painting on here. And then before I finish with this, I am going to do my sentiment stamps. Just going to grab a little block and we'll do that, stamp that and emboss that, so then we know these are all done and ready. We'll do that just by placing it. I'm not going to worry about the stamping platform, but I am going to heat emboss it. So I'm just going to put a little bit of the embossing powder on there, and we'll just heat that up, and then we can come back to that in a moment. Okay, so I am going to, I think we'll use this. I have my scattered straw here. I'm going to put that down, and I'm going to use that to excuse me, leaning across the camera there. Just grab my water and my brush. So this one, that's do. So I am literally just using a little bit of water, and I am just painting flowers. I think what I was trying to say just now about using all the same products is it all tones in, it all blends in, it kind of all looks like it should be together. So I'm going to use a little bit more water. Paint our flowers. And then the other thing I'm going to use the scattered straw for is to very, not carefully, I think that's the wrong word, but I'm going to just put it into, you see these little bits here, yeah, around the edges of the circles. Now, when we come to cut these, I'm not going to be using dies for this. I'm going to be cutting these by hand because, as Julia herself said, she's hand drawn them and they're not, you know, they're not perfect circles, which I think adds to their charm, if you like. So by cutting them out by hand, you kind of keep that feel to it. So yes, I'm just gonna get a little bit more, and on each of these, just very gently. I'm not worrying too much if I go over the edges, but just like get that little yellow bit in that outer edge where I can. Probably a finer brush would be better, but hey ho, we will continue with what we're doing for the moment. On all of them. Oh, I think I've just found a little bit where I didn't heat the embossing powder. I felt it go a bit crunchy, but they'll be, not to worry. I'm not worrying too much about going over the edge, because in a moment I am going to kind of do the background inside all the little buttons with a very dilute weathered wood. Okay, so there's the that one done. Let's get a little bit of bundled sage, and we will do the leaves. And on here. And I'm also going to use it for the centre of this flower. And then I'm going to get my weathered wood. And like I said, I'm going to really dilute this down. Really, really pale, just to go around the back. All the dots themselves that you've got there kind of add to the shading, so I'm not too bothered. Well, I've gone a bit wet in there, but hey ho. I'm not too bothered about trying to create shading because it's kind of already there. Just adding a little bit of more to sort of tie this in again with the background. And I'm just going to add just a very little bit along, along these kind of shaded bits in the flower, sort of in the center, just to give a little bit more shadow in there, and also in these back ones. Like so. Right, so we're going to put those to the side to dry, and then I'm going to grab my grey card and have a quick look at these Dinky circles dies. So you get the flower, which I use to create the stencil. Then this outer one creates a very thin frame, but also you get that inner one. This one cuts a solid, scalloped with dot and stitch detail. Then you've got another frame, and then you've got another solid, and then you've got the flower. So we are going to use just this one because it will give us the both this and then the solid inner. I've already cut one, so I only need to cut another one. I'll just show you. I'm going to grab a little bit of tape to hold that down and run that through the machine. Get rid of a very little tidy up while we're here. So you can see you get this lovely thin sort of frame, plus you get that solid inner, and we want both. Just put that over there. Ooh, grab the die and put that back on my sheet. There we go. So grab our other little bit. I've got my base card, I've got my mat, I've got my layer here. So I need to do a couple of things now. I need to cut out a piece of this to fit, and I think more over here than I think that's too light. So I think we use this edge. So I'm going to do it by eye. I'm going to this is the bit I'm matting onto. If I move that out of the way so I don't get confused. And I'm going to grab my pencil and literally, oh, my pencil working? Yes, my pencil is working. That's a weird thing to say, but it's a wind up one and it wasn't wound up. So I'm just going to cut that for my mat there, and down there. Whether I was accurate enough with that. I'll do. Let's stick that on. And you can see it obviously still wasn't quite dry. I should have given it a bit of a heat blast. I've transferred some ink onto that, but that's not a big issue. That's stuck down. Yeah, you can see some of it is still wet. That's purely my issue there. Okay, I haven't cut that quite straight, you can see, but we'll plow on. I'm going to stick this onto here. Oh, more glue, and I just put the glue away, didn't I? Goes on here. And then that will go, oh, make sure we've got a card around the right way. It's going to go on there. And the next job I'm going to do is, I'm just going to give this a very quick heat gloss. I don't want to put too much heat on this because what I don't want to do is start remelting the the embossing powder. Right, so I'm going to get my scissors. First of all, I'm going to cut into it. So I'm only dealing with one at a time. And then literally just leaving a little bit of a white border, cutting around. And like I say, because Julie's drawn them so that they are not perfect circles, it doesn't matter that you are not cutting a perfect circle. Absolutely brilliant. This is the one where I know that there was a little bit of embossing powder that I didn't heat properly. Can do with that. You see, I'm not taking particular, care. I'm not trying to cut them out perfectly. I'm just pretty much roughly following the edges, and then the last one here. And I prefer to use a big pair of scissors when doing something like that because they've got a longer blade. I'm turning the card and just closing the scissors. So we've now got all our bits. So we're going to stick these two on first. Ooh, need some glue. There's the glue. So we're going to stick. You need to go sort of closer to the middle because obviously you want the thinner bits to come out. So I'm going to grab my tweezers and my fine applicator to put glue on the back of this. Sorry, gone quiet. Just concentrating on trying to keep it on that really, really fine circle. So I'm putting one there, and the other one hiding under there. Ooh. Oh, there we go. Around, there we go. And then that one's going to go up like so. And then we're going to arrange our pieces. Oh. Okay, so we'll sit. Oh, hello, stick down, please. And we're going to use 3D glue gel to put these ones on. I really like this colour combination. I think it's just so muted, but it's pretty. How do I do it? I'm just trying to decide which way round I want the big flower. I did it that way. Yeah, we'll go there. We'll go under there. And then put this little guy on. I'm just going to turn that a little bit. I do like using glue gel when I'm faffing because it allows me the time to faff. I can decide whether that's really what I wanted. And on there. Actually. There, and then I've got a little sentiment. So, a quick recap then. We have used the Julie Hickey gorgeous floral buttons stamp set, and we have used Dinky circle die set, and the colours that we've used to create the background and to stamp, to colour the stamps, we used scattered straw, bundled sage, and weathered wood. Thank you for joining me. Have a look out for other videos using this collection on our channel. Thank you.